Today on Locked On Rockies, what will they do first? Big contracts, big change in the front office, or a whole lot of the same? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 30th day of September in the year 2025. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, you're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. I'm Paul Holden, your Rockies fan extraordinaire, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And yes, we're still talking Rockies in the offseason in what should be a big and important and monumental and season and franchise altering offseason. But will it be? Let's talk about what the moves they should make, what moves will they make, kind of pie in the sky ideas, and kind of just really at this point, it's still so, everything's still so up in the air. And we saw some moves, some teams already moving on from their manager. But again, I think that I believe I saw Jeff Passan a tweet that it's not decided about what the Rockies' future is, but with Schaefer already going back to Arizona, again, let's not kid ourselves. One of the big decisions is already made. Warren Schaefer is going to return as the manager of the Rockies. Before we go anywhere, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. So I'm still trying to just unpack everything, right? I'm still trying to unpack the season. I'm still trying to unpack where I'm at and how I'm feeling, because it's just, that was bad, right? I mean, it was horrible, horrendous, historically bad. And as we went through the numbers on yesterday's show, it just continues to highlight the problematic trends and everything that we've been seeing for the Rockies. And as they continue to decline and not improve and not make the adjustments and, show us that there's signs of improvement for this roster and for these players. And it's still to a point where, when you ask the question of what should the first move be, it doesn't matter really what the first move is, as long as it's not just the only move. And has the first move already been made when you're talking about the promotion of Walker Monfort there with the Rockies moving on from Bud Black during the season? You could argue maybe that those were some of the first moves in response to this. But you're facing a situation in which this is a fierce, all hands on deck. Everybody should be, everything should be evaluated. Every single last thing should be being evaluated right now. And maybe that might take time. But I go back to that ESPN piece that we talked about last week, when it talks about the Rockies already being so far behind. So to sit here and say, oh, give it some time, let them figure it out. They're already this far behind. So the more they lollygag, the more time they take, the more issues that they have, the more, all these things, the further behind they're going to be from other teams that are already making moves, firing managers, locking down managers to extensions today with the first day of the offseason. Right now, it would have been nice to see the Rockies, in response to the season, have make a statement right away. And that even could have been hearing from Dick Monfort himself. One thing that was interesting, at least on the social medias today, was the fact that the Mets owner, Steve Cohen, was talking about was already on social media talking about them coming up short, them failing, apologizing to the fans and all that and that stuff. So my question is, when do we hear from Dick? When does the owner of the team address the worst season in franchise history and address the accumulation of everything that's gotten to it? And I don't, so that could be step one. It's an interesting, there's a million ways that you could take the question of what should step one be. But I think the first step really is committing to something. If you're going to double, triple, quadruple down on your crew, your guys, your philosophy, then at least commit to it early. Don't drag out the commit to Schaefer, commit to Bill Schmidt, commit to all these guys, commit to not overhauling a lot of stuff behind the scenes, commit to being who you are. And the Rockies can continue to be what they are, the worst team in baseball. Or commit to the change, commit to being open-minded, commit to looking for new ideas, commit to looking for new revenues of success, commit to looking to new philosophies, commit to going outside the organization, commit to making the team better. And sure, that's just a philosophical thing, and that's an easy thing to just say, oh, we are committed. Of course we're committed. That is a simple thing. But you're not going to prove to anyone that you are committed and that you're backing up the words of committing, of being committed to that until you start showing it. Until you say we're not bringing, and I keep picking on Schaefer here, even though the Purple Row does a poll. There's a lot, I believe Denver Post does a lot of buzz, a lot of positivity for Schaefer here. But I'm just saying, but by immediately again shutting down that avenue of not going outside the org, not looking around, not taking in new input, not seeing what the interest is, that's not going to help you get out of the situation you're in. It's not to say that Warren Schaefer can't be the answer either. Certainly he can be. Now he's familiar. He's got the experience now at the big leagues. He's now he's the guy that's one of the most knowledgeable about the roster. But I don't that committing to Schaefer right away is the commitment to the status quo, is the commitment to the commitment to doubling down to your own organization and your own plans and what the people inside your building have been telling you. And sure, you could argue that maybe that's a commitment to getting better in some ways, but it's not a commitment to doing things differently. It's not a commitment to looking for new solutions, and it's not a commitment to trying something to snap this streak instead of going with the definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over again. Step one needs to be formulating the plan, or actually the plan needs to be formulated. It needs to be executing the plan in the wake of this. It's acknowledging your shortcomings. I like that Schaefer at the end of the season said it's open competition at multiple positions. There was no one that established themselves in these positions. No one took the steps forward that we were hoping for. It is open. It is open tryout right now, which is good to see. And you need to continue to focus on addressing those things, addressing those shortcomings, addressing what's wrong with the guys and the guys that you've been picking and your approach to, developing them. What's wrong? The first step can't be just the major big splash. But in that same vein, though, if you're committed to doing something different, one of your first steps is moving on from your GM. I mean, there's so many little mini steps that go in with the first step. But again, if you're going to go to the commitment to change, you change there. And another situation where if you don't make a change there, you are committing to status quo. You are committed to the same thing in the same situations that you're in right now. If you're not going to make a big, that type of change, you're committing to status quo. So it's kind of those big umbrella type of things. The Rockies should have already decided what they're going to do and where they're going to head this offseason. We'll have to see what it pans out in terms from our side. But we'll see if there's a plan in place, and we'll see what that means for them heading into the offseason there when it comes to who's on the roster from that's currently in the organization, what their philosophy and approach will be when it comes to going after and pursuing free agents, if there is going to be any approach to that or anything like that. And it's approach, and it's going to signal what it looks like and what the team anticipates for the future going forward. And one of the first things they're going to have to do, which it sounds like they might have already made a decision about one of them, is figure out what they're going to do with some of their big contracts. And let's talk about that coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Nutrafol. You've probably seen a million of ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are so many products out there, and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people, and now Nutrafol is the official hair growth partner of Major League Baseball. You can feel great about what you're putting into your body since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF contents are certified the gold standard and third-party certification for supplements. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month's subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Locked On MLB. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code Locked On MLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code Locked On MLB. Locked On Rockies here, thanking you for making us your first listen of the day and checking us out here on the Locked On Rockies podcast and YouTube channel. I know it's an off season. It's a long off season, and you might need a break. You might need to step away from Rockies baseball for a little bit, and I can't blame you. But the Rockies here have some big deals to deal with here and some big interesting things, especially as they're heading into arbitration deals and what they're going to look at when it comes to, say, for example, your Mickey Moniaks and what the Rockies are going to be looking like here. Are they going to commit to this, the Estrada year here? Are they going to execute that $7 million option for Thairo Estrada here in his second year with the Rockies? Are they going to go after that? So, but I wanted to also talk about the fact that I'm going over here to MLB.com, which is Thomas Harding. Rockies planning to utilize Senzatella as reliever in 26, because Antonio Senzatella, when you're talking about contract-wise here, we've talked about it before, but after this season, he's got a $12 million deal and then a club option coming up in 2027. So with that club option, in an ideal situation, as we were talking about the Rockies, in a situation where they might be releasing Antonio Senzatella, they might move on from him here. And that could very well still be on the table. But with this contract, the club option there, which I don't necessarily know, and let me know what you think in the comments here, as this is that part of the game I'm not necessarily the most familiar with, what a club option might mean in terms of impact and trade value, whether that's a plus or a minus, a team that might want to take a flyer and go for a risk, like in the fact that they can get that, exercise that option and have that control there, or if it's a little bit of a, an opt-out kind of add to the rental thing, because I wanted to go over here and read from this Thomas Harding piece here. Senzatella, 30, largely struggling in his true return from 2023 Tommy John right elbow surgery, going 4 for 15 with a 6.65 ERA in 30 games, including 23 starts. General rust after making 3 appearances last season, and a bothersome blistering problem on his right middle finger contributed to his struggles as a starter, 7.42 ERA. He was moved to reliever in late August. I'll go back to this quote from Schaefer here, but I just wanted to point out some of these stats that Harding brought up about Senzatella in the bullpen. Senzatella's performance as a reliever, however, led the Rockies to make the move more than a temporary one to navigate a rough season. On June 6th, the Rockies used lefty Ryan Rollison as an opener against the Mets. Then Senzatella pitched 4 scoreless innings, despite 4 walks and 3 hits against 2 strikeouts. Senzatella posted a 2.86 ERA with 14 strikeouts to 9 walks and 7 relief appearances this season. In 33 career relief appearances, Senzatella has a 3.86 ERA. The most striking reason for the move came on September 7th against the Padres, when Senzatella threw the 5 fastest pitches of his career: 99 miles per hour, 99.1 twice, 99.3, and 99.7. Previously, Senzatella's fastest pitches came in the same game during his rookie year, July 2nd, 2017 at Arizona, 99 and 98.9 miles an hour. Senzatella debuted in 27 and was part of the rotations that pitched the Rockies to the postseason in 17 and 18 and signed a 5-year, $50.5 million contract extension through 2026 with a club option for 27. But since sustaining a torn ACL in his left knee in August 2020 and the elbow injury in his second start in 2023, Senzatella has not found momentum. The move comes despite the Rockies' rotation that was a key factor in the Rockies finishing with the greatest negative run differential in MLB's modern era, minus 424. The 6.65 starter ERA was the worst since ERA became an official statistic in 1993. The previous high of 6.64 was by the 1996 Tigers. So I bring that up because do you eat the money? Which I would assume it would be the Rockies eating $24 million. And I don't know if that also includes with the club option. Not necessarily sure what that means. Or do you see if the bullpen experience pays out enough for him to be an intriguing trade candidate at the deadline and get anything for him, anything at all, for him to be an intriguing enough guy? The money is going to be tough. I wonder if the Rockies would have to still eat some of the money and some of the contract there. But again, let me know how that club option works, because if it's just for the season there, that might be a different story, and they might be able to do, some teams might be interested depending on where he goes. It wasn't perfect performance. It wasn't stellar. It wasn't dominant performance or anything like that. But if he's serviceable enough out of the bullpen for the Rockies, or strong out of the bullpen, again, a 2.86 ERA with 14 strikeouts to 9 walks and 7 relief appearances this season, 3.86 ERA across 33 relief appearances. Again, not going to be a relief pitcher that knocks your socks off, but it's better than a 7.42 ERA as a starter, and it's going to be able to help keep the Rockies will be able to use some of their young guys. They might be able to bring in some other starter quality pitchers, and you're also maybe getting a little bit more value from that contract, and it's a little bit better than just having to cut bait and move on and eat that money, where you can maybe flip it into something where you get something, you get anything, you get possible prospects, you get a couple of lottery tickets in return. You got to ride that wave all the way up until July, and see what that happens. And if it's the Senzatella, the starting experience for Senzatella out of the bullpen, and he's unable to get guys out, unable to get the weak contact and serving up home runs, yeah, that'll be a problem. But if he's able to come out of the bullpen and start piping 99 miles an hour, something he hasn't been doing since his rookie year, I mean, and he's got a whole offseason, as in that piece, Schaefer talks about, hey, we need to make sure that we prepare him for the role. So by telling him and letting him know that the bullpen is most likely his future here, he can go in and prepare for that. And Senzatella talks about just needing to be prepared for whatever his role is, and wants to know that. That could lead to a positive impact. That could be a positive situation for the Rockies. That could be a positive end to the career of the Rockies' career of Antonio Senzatella, versus German Marquez now, where we're going into saying, okay, what happens? Could be the return on a cheaper deal, and the same thing, bounces back, flip him at the deadline, and see what happens to help you there as you build toward. Because again, no kidding myself this offseason. No kidding myself with hyping myself up into taking a Rockies Rockies win total over. No hyping myself up into a Rockies offseason success program unless it's talent being brought in, and until they start winning it on the field. We can't sit here and just whiff the hopium all the time. So that could be a way to set up, if he is able to turn into a pretty solid bullpen piece, that could be a nice little option for the Rockies. The other big question that they have to have here, because the Rockies' 4 highest paid players: Chris Bryant, Kyle Freeland, Ezekiel Tovar, and Antonio Senzatella. These are all players that are going to be making over $10 million for the Rockies next year. German Marquez had an AEV of $10 million, but again, not on the team here. No one on the Rockies making that, really even close to that, depending on arbitration, or and if there's any pre-arbitration deals as well. But you got to make a call about Chris Bryant. You got to make a call about if he is unable. You cannot ride the roller coaster of great offseason program, all this. The decision needs to be, and I guess if you are, then you're committing to paying all that money. I mean, you're committing to every year having to ride the roller coaster of that. If you take this on the chin in a season in which that's most likely going to be lost, and you cut, Chris Bryant gets the guaranteed money. It's disappointment to him as the athlete and to the player and to the and all that stuff. I understand that. But how is it going to help the Rockies to give him a roster spot and hope at this point? What is Chris Bryant returning from another injury riddled season? How is that going to help you get to the other side? How is that going to help you rebound and rebuild? Hope that he bounces back and good enough to have some sort of trade value for someone who might want to take on the albatross of a contract. We're talking about under contract $27 million annually for Chris Bryant for the next 3 seasons. He's aged 34, 35, 36 in those seasons. It's time. It's and I don't know what if that might be a I don't know. It's really tough here. And I'm going to read here some of this from Cubby's crib here real quick, because I haven't heard much about Chris Bryant here. And I guess he was talking to ESPN. I'm a big part of some of the failures here right now, Brian said. It eats me every day. I'd rather go out there and suck as a baseball player than sit here in pain every day. And I feel for Chris Bryant, the person. His body has betrayed him. And he sees a team he knows, and his abilities should be the one, his impact should be something that would help the Rockies. That was the whole point. But I don't know. I think the Rockies need to work with Chris Bryant to come to a decision that they can both mutually agree on. Because we can't just keep sitting here hoping and waiting and wishing. Tough calls need to be made. Adjustments need to be made. I feel for him. It sucks. It totally sucks. We would have loved to see Chris Bryant and be an impactful Rockies player. Everybody was rooting for that. Just hasn't panned out. And then finally, in terms of Rockies' big contracts, Kyle Freeland, I think you just are going to rock and roll with him for the entire contract. It's the 2027 contract. I guess I don't know what this is. It's been voided, the 2027 thing. So technically, I guess if his last year of this, according to Sport Track here, this could be Kyle Freeland's last contract, year under contract with the Rockies anyway. If again, why this is voided, I'm not sure. And again, he certainly could be another person that could be traded at the trade deadline. It's something that would probably be the better way to go. But I could see Kyle Freeland, to me, has got Charlie Blackmon career trajectory written all over it. But that's just me. All right, folks, let's put a wrap on that, because I want to get to some of your comments from the end of the season episode there, and let's dive into that coming up next. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app, and you can use them on parlays. You can use them on prop bets. You can use them on live betting, because they got so many ways to play at FanDuel: parlays, player props, and the live lines during the games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something even is something even more exciting when you've got a little more riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. That's FanDuel.com. First $5 bet when it wins $300 in bonus bets. Go check it out. Locked On Rockies here, wrapping up for today, wrapping up the month of September as we continue to wrap up the season. And wanted to read some comments here. Not going to have time to get to all the comments here, and we'll just go down the list. ADL Williams says, Mariners fan, I watched you first during our recent series. I can definitely relate with your pain over the state of your team and displeasure with your front office, but keep grinding and some magic will come soon. That's what we're going to keep doing. It's the only thing you can do as Rockies fan. FNL Aviator, morning, Paul. Thanks for covering the Rockies. By the way, 7 years ago, 2018 Rockies came off a win against the Nats, clinching a playoff spot with a few games left to tie the Los Angeles Dodgers for the division in game 163. Oh, they were so close. So close to winning. And if they won the division that year, boy, was that Milwaukee? Was that the Cubs year, though? Man, it was that Cubs game, so stressful. Never forget that one. God, playoffs. Addicting. Michael says, been a Rockies fan since their inception this year. Well, their inception in this year, was beyond brutal. However, if anything is learned from all that, it is hopefully will get better. I mean, here's hoping. It's Nerva says, I'm sorry, but this intro is the funniest thing ever and convinced me to stick around for the whole thing. Here's to next year. Thanks for hanging around. Glad we got a laugh out of it. So what you got to do sometimes? Just kind of look back and laugh at what's happened. Teddy says, been back in Colorado for the past 14 years. The Rockies have been absolutely horrible. But, well, if they're the last 14 years, at least you've seen some winning Rockies baseball. But this season was the worst. Personally, I didn't think they'd win 43 games all season, so it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. They can only get better next season. That's what they say. But unfortunately, the trajectory of the Rockies has not been the case. So hopefully, but we'll see. Jeremy says a team with low-performing offense can still survive if the defense and pitching is capable. Unfortunately, the Rockies have been a team where pitching just refuses to be good enough to do anything capable, and the defense was tremendously disappointing. I mean, when we're talking about, I think hidden in my fixation and focus on the Rockies starting rotation here is I've ignored, and something we will talk about this offseason is the Rockies, being completely horrendous as a defensive unit this year. When going into it, they should have been one of the better defensive units in baseball. Evan says, the only positive I took away from the season is that one time. Oh, wait, never mind. Brian says, I feel like as a fan, I can admit the run differential shows they are the worst team ever. Hey, and I don't think that's a bad argument. I really don't. I mean, wins, losses, you get some lucky breaks, you get this and that, you get course field or whatever you want to say. When you smash the run differential record, the worst run differential record, and you do something that no one's ever done before in that, I don't blame you. I don't think that's that crazy, Brian. I don't think that's that outlandish of a thought there. SB Getter says, disappointed they won so many games. Only thing interesting about this season was the possibility they could make history for futility. If you haven't listened to the show, I was never rooting for that. And the run differential thing and all the other negative, all the bad numbers, all the other worst things that happened with the Rockies was enough. At least they can avoid that the easy moniker of worst record of all time. Because you just don't want that label. The Rockies have enough negative labels that that's just not going to work. I just for me at least. So, but interesting storyline makes it interesting. Useless Trucker says sell the team. Hey, we'll not going to happen, but we'll see. And Eric, I like this. I like where your head's at, Eric. I like this to kind of bring us back to center here. Good news is the season is over and they're back to 0-0. Never know what might happen next year. A lot of time in between now and the start of next year's regular season. We'll see how it how it all plans out. Folks, let me know again, all off season. I want to hear your comments. I want to hear your thoughts. Keep firing off your comments. Keep liking the videos. Keep subscribing. It really helps the show there. Really appreciate that. But that is going to do it for us. Thank you so much for making it your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB and Locked On MLB Game Night. And of course, for your Colorado sports action, we got you covered. Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, and Buffs. Free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.